It's one part camera, one part Swiss watch. The Nikon 35 Ti was one of the most unique point-and-shoots from the 1990s. With a brick-like titanium body, f2.8 aperture on a 35mm lens, semi-automatic and manual controls, and one of the most unique features of any 35mm compact or any 35 DSLR, and a camera that I've been looking forward to owning for about 15 years. And the nice thing is, they're not too hard to find. You can get these for here about $500 on the used market, with really cherry examples going for $700, and the slightly rarer 28mm variant, the 28 Ti, selling for sometimes upwards of $1,000. However, either one of the cameras share the most unique feature I've seen on pretty much any camera, which is the hilariously acronymed NADS, or Nikon Analog Display System. This almost Swiss watch style gauge cluster gives you an aperture setting, your film display in a circular clock dial that tells you, ticks off the number of frames that you've taken, a focus scale, so you can manually focus this and actually do it successfully, which few of the compact 35mm cameras did. And it has an exposure compensation adjustment. It does have a flash, which is on by default, so it will always take a flash photo when detected, but you have to then press the flash cancel button in order to get rid of that. Or you can go into the custom functions and turn off the flash and activate it with the button to turn on. The 35 Ti feels almost too delicate. The little latch to open up the film feels as if it's going to snap off in your hands at any moment. It hasn't given way yet, but it just feels delicate. The gauges, the dials are incredibly fine and look like a watch. It's really clever. And as they move, you have almost a watch-like ticking of the dial. It's really satisfying to look at, and sometimes when I'm shooting, I just kind of cycle through it and take a peek at it, and it's a little distracting, but it's very clever. Outside of that, the images on this camera are fantastic. The lens itself is, like I said, very sharp, and like most 35mm lenses, it's not too hard to make a lens like this, but I've used plenty of compact film cameras, and really the only one that I've ever used that's come close to this is the Yashica T4. The image quality out of this is really second to none. It's good for street photography. You've got enough depth of field control to blow out the background if you want to do some casual portraiture, and landscape photography is not too bad either. Using the camera is very nice. The viewfinder is large, it's bright, and the rangefinder is accurate. It actually gives you parallax correction in 2 or 3 steps so that when you're focusing close, you can compose accurately. Like I said before, you have your exposure compensation display. It'll give you a little plus minus if you're using exposure comp. It'll show you your actual effective aperture or your shutter speed, one or the other. And it'll show you where the center point of the autofocus is. It also will show you what metering mode you're using, which I think comes down to the main reason why this camera is still very popular and desirable today, is that it uses the Nikon matrix metering system. It's one of the best metering systems of any 35mm compact, and honestly of any film camera on the market. One thing that I find a bit frustrating is that I wear a hat quite often when I'm outside photographing, and I want to be able to use this camera to its full extent, but the brim of a hat will block its light pickup, its optical pickup right there, which is how you can see your frame lines in the display. Outside of that, the images that this camera takes are amazing. I have really enjoyed using it, and I think that if you're looking for something that isn't going to really break the bank and ruin your wallet, but will give you images that rival a Contax T3 or one of the fancy Minolta or Konica, it's going to give them quite a run for their money, and will be one of the best cameras that you can find.
Thank you for watching. Please like this video, and subscribe to our channel if you would like to see more content like this. Leave a comment below if you have any specific cameras you would really like to see a video on.